please, shall we start?
So today we have a group of guests from Sierra Leone and one from Hartlepool, England.
Yes.
And they are, by the grace of Allah, all Ahmadis.
All the rest of Sierra Leone's?
Yes,
we are.
Yes.
All of you?
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
All of them, they are Ahmadis, with the exception of one lady who is studying about Ahmadiyat.
Right.
And they would like to ask.
And let me see, first of all, let me put them to account. Where have they been, all of them? I've seen you, of course, but very occasionally, rarely.
Yeah.
Do you live away from London, or?
Yes, please.
Do you?
Yeah, Reading.
Reading, that's right.
Yeah.
And you?
I live in London. I come here often.
You come here often?
Yeah, I come here.
But I don't remember having met you personally.
No. Well, I've met the
Imam Sahib, right.
Imam
And you?
Sahib,
Yeah, I live in London.
Where? Underground?
Man up. But I've been coming here every Friday.
Okay. Shall we start,
Yes,
please?
Kalon.
Yes.
Kalon.
Yes, Kalon.
My question relates to Ramadan. In many parts of the world, some Muslims start their fast 1 or 2 days earlier. And my question is, why is this so, given the fact that science has improved so much, we can determine the date when Ramadan should start, and is your fast valid at all?
You see, the Ramadan is related to the sighting of moon. And moon does not appear on the same date everywhere in the world. The moon horizon behaves differently from the sunsets and sunrises. They are fixed and there is no change whatsoever. So you can go by the dates related to sun very correctly, and there is no difference. But when it comes to moon, then there are variable dates. So that is why the Holy Quran says, وَمَنْ شَهَدَ مِنْكُمُ السِّيَامَ شَهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. Whoever witnesses the month, he should begin to fast. This is particularly indicative of the changes which are possibly related to the sighting of moon. So whoever is in a country where moon is sighted, they should keep fast. But it is not essential, it is not in the plan of things for the month of Ramadan to begin all over the world on the same date. Right? So there is no harm. This is the beauty of this. Sighting of the moon and desire that I should watch it. There is so much romance in it, isn't there? And also the sighting of the Eid moon. Even children go to the top of their houses and search for the moon. So all that is so lovely. Why do you want to have it changed into a mechanical thing?
My question was probably phrased wrongly. Even in countries like England, for instance, Muslims start fast different days.
Well, that is a different question.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Belonging to the country with the same horizon, you mean?
Yeah.
People fast differently and start the month differently. First of all, because I think they do not trust the witnesses belonging to other sects. So if people of their own sects have sighted the moon, then they would accept it as valid sighting. If others do it, they don't care, they don't bother. And because they have to say their prayers behind their own imams in their own specific mosques, so it doesn't create much difference for them. But it happens sometimes that in the same mosque is occupied by people belonging to different sects and sometimes opposing sects. Then you see a lot of trouble begins because of this difference, and sometimes people fight in the mosque and the police enters and subdues the mobs and so on. So that's a very bad and poor sight. But we can't help it because this is how the mullahs are built. Right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Please.
My name is Ramin Muhammad Kamara. My question is this.
You are from which part of Sierra Leone?
From Rokupur.
Rokupur,
Yeah.
I see. Is peace returning to Sierra Leone now, or it is still in the same state of disturbance and turmoil?
It's in the same way, no?
Same?
Yeah.
No change for the better?
No.
Very tragic, huh?
I want to know the significance of the significance of Laylatul Qadr,
Laylatul Qadr.
and when and how is we can observe it.
It's not up to you to do it. It's not your decision. If Allah so desires, He will bless you with that. Otherwise, you can't do it even if you are awake the whole night, and that night is the night of the Laylatul Qadr. You may not have that experience. So it's entirely a blessing of Allah that one shares those blessed moments. So for that you should pray all Ramadan. Right? And there is no fixed date anyway. Because according to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one should search for that night. Which means all the night is night of preparation and preparedness. And every night passes after that, the last 10, among the last 10 nights, every night is a possible night of Laylatul Qadr. Particularly the odd nights, 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th. So that keeps the believers alert. Instead of having only one night, they go through the experience all through. And it is not a must that you should, only your prayers during those moments will be heard. Prayers can be heard even without Ramadan. It's entirely up to Allah. So don't be too mechanical about these things. Try your best and leave the rest to God. Okay? Please.
My name is Alhaji Conte from Sierra Leone as well. Makali.
Alhaji Conte?
Conte.
That's right.
Makali.
From where?
From Makali, Sierra Leone.
Makali.
Yes.
Whereabout is that? Have I been there? No?
Well, north. My father was the first president of the Ahmadis in Sierra Leone.
Is that right?
Yes.
Mashallah.
And my brother went to study
And what
in
was his
Rabwa.
name?
Paramount Chief Alhaji Al-Mamisuri.
I see. Well, there was one Haji Al-Buseri. Who was he?
Alhaji Al-Mamisuri.
Al-Mamisuri.
Makali. And this, one of our brothers studied in Rabwa.
What was his name?
Mahmoud Conte.
Mahmoud Conte.
Yeah.
I know, yes.
You know him. He's my younger brother.
He's your younger brother.
Yeah,
All right.
Yes.
Right.
My father was so devoted to Ahmadis,
Yes.
and he sent one of,
Of course
his
I know.
children.
Now I know this.
Now you know him. So
Of course.
my question is, I think it's for non-Ahmadis really, because we don't regard ourselves as non-Muslims. Why do other Muslims?
Now, what is this statement? We don't regard ourselves
That's
as
not where we regard ourselves as Muslims.
Oh,
the
well, I mean,
Ahmadis. Yeah, we are
This is
Muslims.
a very weak statement.
Yeah, well, no. Well, I'm asking, my question is, why do other Muslims keep on insisting that Ahmadis are non-Muslims?
Because of the fear of Ahmadis. If they don't propagate it and constantly remind others that Ahmadis are non-Muslims, they would turn to Ahmadiyyat because it is so attractive, so wonderful in understanding of Islam that they are drawn into Ahmadiyyat with this very powerful magnetic force. So to keep them away, they spread this propaganda, they're non-Muslims, non-Muslims. So it's very difficult for a Muslim to scale the wall dividing Islam and outside Islam. So when they are influenced by this propaganda, then they cease to take interest in Ahmadiyyat. Otherwise, as long as Ahmadis were understood to be Muslims in the eyes of law, they thought the conversions taking place from other sects to Islam was mainly because of the masses, unlettered masses, and their belief that it doesn't make any difference. After all, they are a sect of Islam, so why not change the sect from this to that? Still, you will remain within the four walls of Islam. Now, this was the general impression of the masses. They thought, the mullahs thought, which was helping Ahmadiyyat to spread. So they erected a wall in between, and still no change.
People climb over the
Yes,
wall.
they're climbing, jumping higher, and in larger numbers. they can't stop truth from spreading. It's impossible.
It is impossible, yes.
They prevented us through legislations to spread our literature, to preach to others. They banned the books of Hazrat Masih Maud Islam to be published in Pakistan. Now, what did God do? God gave us MTA, and now Ahmadiyyat is showering over them, from heavens, entering each house. The other day, somebody sent me a published report by a hostile mullah about Ahmadiyyat, and there he accepted defeat. He confessed their inability to do anything against MTA. He said, what can we do now? Naming me, he said, he has entered our houses. We find him in our own houses, our children watching him. What can we do about it now? So this is Allah's doing.
It's a beauty.
Let them do whatever they may. They cannot obstruct the passage of Ahmadiyyat. Right?
Thank you.
Please.
My name is Sarah Kamara. I'm from Kabbalah, Sierra Leone.
From?
Kabbalah, Sierra Leone.
Kabbalah.
Yeah, the northern part of Sierra Leone.
I have been to Kabbalah. Yes, I know, yes.
My question is, sorry.
Yes.
My question is about the European life, which is really affecting all of us, the so-called liberation movement of the West, which is spreading to the African. And this has led to the breaking up of the traditional family.
That's right.
Traditional family life. What advice and help have you got to give to families that are facing these problems?
Well, the only advice I can render is to become Muslims in the true sense, both to the Muslims and non-Muslims. I will render the same advice. Islamic family system is well protected by its moral laws. And if you stick to Islamic moral laws, then it is impossible for you to be drawn into outside worldly players to a degree where the center of gravity shifts from the house to the streets to the dancing halls and so on. Now that is the main problem. Nowadays, under the Western system of life or Western social system, gradually and constantly the interest of the family members is shifting from within the house to outside the house, within the home to outside the home. Practically, they are using their houses as motels nowadays. They come and have a nice rest, have a good breakfast at home, and then run away and return late at night. When absolutely they're totally exhausted, and sometimes they lost the command of their senses because of over drinking, and then kick a shindy when they return to their houses, and sometimes beat their wives and innocent children and so on. So the more it is happening, the more dangers are being born out of this unfortunate affair of disjointing families, breaking up families. Because when they go to the streets, when they go to seek pleasure elsewhere, they want money as well. And they want also, if not alcohol plus sometimes drugs. And they are more costly because of, as you know, so many factors, getting more and more costly because the more the government is tightening, plugging the holes through which the drugs was smuggled into the country, the more costly, the costlier it becomes.
Yeah.
So where should they get their money from? Mugging and housebreaking and murder for even a few pounds or dollars. This is happening everywhere in the world. They are not disconnected phenomena. They are interrelated, dependent on each other. So one can say it's a pleasurable life to be free to walk around and see things and enjoy a cup of wine in a pub. Well, go on doing it. But what about the promiscuity which follows? What about the free for all in human relationship, resulting in AIDS and so many other problems, which are now in fact casting threatening shadows over many countries of Africa. Uganda has already gone under that shadow. It's like a shadow of a cloud with full of radiation. Wherever this shadow is cast, the people begin to die and crumble to nothingness. So all this is a part of a system. The moment you begin to see it and realize it, you have to turn to God. There is no other way, no cheap way. You can't have it and eat it. It's not a cake which can be had as well as eaten. You have to choose one thing. Either let yourself go into the wilderness of the worldly pleasures, or return to God and find your safe haven with Him. There is no other way. And that's what we are trying to do.
Right. But I know some families that are very, very religious with their kids. They pray 5 times a day.
Yes.
But the kids have become so difficult. They doesn't eat the traditional food that their parents are providing for them.
Yes.
They always call them as rubbish. They prefer to go for these Western foods, right? And which have really frustrated the parents. Sometimes they go out in the street, they smoke. If the parents decided to discipline them, they'll go to school, and then they'll advise them.
This is individuals you're discussing. We are talking of generals. I don't know which children you're talking about, which boys or girls.
About the Muslim children.
There's so many Muslims in the world, belonging to so many different sects. I am answerable only for the Ahmadiyya children, boys and girls, etc. And we take every care to bring him up in the best traditions of Islam. And they won't behave like you are telling us. Only if the food provided is haram according to Islam, like pork or things which Muslims are not permitted to eat and which Christians are not permitted to eat either. Only they don't know it. You see? So if such food will be offered which is forbidden by God, how can these children eat that food? Even those who hail from, those Christians who hail from a pagan background, they do not eat certain things which the pagans freely eat, and they abstain from certain habits and certain cultural styles of those people, which are, interrelated with sorcery and witch doctors and things. The Christians, I know, they don't like it, they don't approve of it. So sometimes some barriers are created by religions and religious beliefs. And that is a sacrifice which we have to offer, or this sacrifice is a must for becoming a religious person. Whichever religion you follow, it will draw a line of demarcation between the following of that religion and the outside, not in every case, but in some cases. And that has to be accepted. This is a part of life. But misbehavior on the part of children because they are religious, that proves that they are not religious. That proves that whatever they do is not in the name of God or in the name of their prophets, but because of their own idiosyncrasies or personal habits. For that, religions can't be blamed. What I was telling you was in generality. I said the social system of the West nowadays has abandoned all its traditions, noble traditions, which were rooted in Christianity. Apparently, it is a Christian society. For every practical purpose, they are not at all Christian. Their politics is not Christian, their economy is not Christian, their moral behavior is not Christian. Christianity is only used to confront other religions. When it comes to a struggle between Islam and our Muslim countries and the Western countries, then the Christian fathers and priests raise their head in the name of Christianity. And people do not care a hoot for the Christian values. Yet they are excited in the name of Christianity only for confrontation. So everything is gone to the four winds. There is no order left, no peace left. The only advice in such a chaos would be to return to order. That is, first of all, remove the hypocrisy which is unfortunately building in every person in this society today, in our society as a whole, in the world, not in the West. Everywhere man is becoming hypocritic. So you can't live with hypocrisy. So the main problem is that of hypocrisy. We say something else, we act something else, we pose to be something else, we behave something else. See, that is the main problem, unfortunately. Please.
Thank you.
I'm Samuel Kalon from Joikoya, Kenema district.
Both Kalons belong to the same family or different families?
Yeah, well,
I met him today.
you see,
Huh?
I just met him today.
Is that right?
you see, the
Kalon is a big tribe or?
That's right.
Yes, there's a lot
It's a
of
tribe,
That's
I
right.
see.
and
We have
mainly,
also
if
a caste by the name of Kahlon. The Amir before the Sheikh Aftab Ibn Khan Sahib was Anwar Ahmed Kahlon.
yeah,
So when he said he is Kahlon, I was surprised to see there are also Kahlons in Sierra Leone, but disconnected, of course, unconnected, unrelated.
no, you see, if we try to explain our roots, see, maybe I try to explain where I'm coming from,
Yes,
up to the extent where it's coming from,
right.
we will end up calling
At the same
each other
source.
brother. Yeah, we will end
Good.
up coming from the same family.
And if
Yeah.
I do the same with reference to Adam, we'll all end up the same. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. My question is, what do you see as the role of Ahmadiyya movement in solving the crisis in the third world countries, in the especially in terms of war, especially to those involved? For example, like a country of Sierra Leone, where you have lots of Ahmadis and they are involved now in this present situation.
You see, this, as far as the peace and war is concerned,
Yeah.
they are only reflections of what man hides within. When they come out and play in the open, then you know whether the man had peace in his breast or war in his breast. And man is hiding war within him. Although he talks of peace. This is the type of hypocrisy I just mentioned. Go to the United Nations, each member of the United Nations is practically a hypocrite, because he loudly speaks of peace and adores peace and preaches peace, while at every moment of the national interest of that country, he would chuck the peace to the four winds and adopt a selfish course which would be in contradiction to his claims. A selfish course which will go for the usurpation of other countries' rights in relation to his own country. And this is what he would call patriotism. So if patriotism has a sphere away from or removed from the sphere of absolute justice, then there can't be any peace whatsoever. The problem today with man is that he is restless within, he is unhappy within, he has no peace. As such, whatever emerges from him, bubbles out of him occasionally, is war, is trouble. So, without repairing what is within, you can't even seek to repair what is outside. This is a simple statement, but it is absolutely true. You can't find solutions to the world problems unless you find solution to the inner problems of man's heart and intentions. Rectify them, and the rest will automatically be rectified. Improve the quality of the seed, and the tree will grow healthy. But if the seeds are diseased, if the roots are diseased, spray the trees as amply as you may, but the trouble would never leave the fruit. The fruit will always be born diseased. I have known it myself through my own experience. I'm a farmer by profession, and once in my orchard, the fruits became, they began to rot before becoming ripe. A strange, ugly phenomenon, And you were waiting for their becoming ripe, and they rotted before they ripened. So we sprayed and did everything. Nothing happened. Nothing worked. Then I asked some experts to come and examine, and they said the disease lies with the roots, not with the branches, not with the stem. So you have to dig it out and cure the roots, treat the roots. Only then you can find favorable results. And that is what we did, and the fruits were healthy from then on. So this is exactly the situation with man. The roots of intention in his heart are twisted, and ugly, and diseased. And he claims to be a godly man, a believer in God, but when it comes to his own personal choices, he would every time abandon the course of godliness in favor of ungodliness when it suits him. So what sort of belief that is? That is what I mean. The diseased roots in man. Go for their cure. So instead of trying a superficial attempt, making a superficial attempt to do away with all the problems, wipe them out as if they do not exist, we go for the basic melodies in man, and religion can rectify that only. Only faith in God, a genuine faith in God, and religious education and religious training, which has no contradiction within itself. That we are trying to do. You see, we are spreading the message of Ahmadiyyat, and wherever we do that, you are a witness that the Ahmadiyya society does change, does register a very visible change in relation to the society from which Ahmadiyyat came. You see, Ahmadiyyat is spreading not as something ethereal, but in the form of kahlons and these and that. They start leaving their societies and come into Ahmadiyya society. And these people shed something of their evils behind. Otherwise, they will not become Ahmadis. Because to become Ahmadi requires sacrifices. Unless you are genuinely convinced of the truth, you can't even think of entering Ahmadiyyat and leaving your families, etc., and previous faiths behind you. When you do it, you suffer at the hands of your earlier relationships and friends. So that also requires sincerity. That is why you have greater strength to shed your evils than others who are just flourishing in the society without any challenges. So with the grace of Allah, I have noticed it. There is a big difference between Ahmadis and non-Ahmadis, and the difference is widening. with the passage of time. There is somebody to take care of Ahmadi morals. He's concerned. There is no one to take care of others. They do whatever they may. The mullahs will have restful sleeps. Even if all their following is become corrupt and worshippers of devil, they don't care. As long as they claim to have the same set of beliefs as the mullah has. The mullah means religious leader. So this is exactly the state of affairs in every other religion. You see, the church fathers and the priests and the bishops and cardinals and all that, they don't move a muscle in their body. They don't turn a hair at the sight of the society becoming immoral through and through, ungodly, cruel, abusing everything, even their own children. They don't care. But if they hear that some preachers of other religions have come and started taking some of their followings away from them, then they raise and rouse the whole people and say, look, here is the threat to Christianity, threat to Islam, threat to Hinduism. Rise against it. A few people are taken away from them, from their leadership, and they are so deeply disturbed. In fact, so much so that they shatter the peace of the whole society because of that, sense of loss. It is a sense of personal loss, not a sense of loss to God. Otherwise, the same people, when they run away from God, when they things which sever their ties with God, why are they not disturbed? As long as they keep the same robe on them, under the same titles of a religious denomination or a sectarian denomination, as long as the titles don't change, the robes don't change, what happens within, they don't care. So that is another example of the hypocrisy I was telling you about. We must wage a war against it. But Ahmadiyya community, with the grace of Allah, is setting a beautiful example of doing what they believe in. So everywhere our struggle is within, not with outside as much. We're trying every measure to make the believers practicing believers, make them realize that they have a moral duty towards their God, and making them realize that if they behave corruptly, we'll sever our ties with them. So that shows that we don't care for number. We threaten Ahmadis that we'll check you out. We don't care for your presence. As long as you behave, you're all right. The moment you begin to misbehave, you have no relationship with us. What better proof would you require that we act differently, we believe differently? Number doesn't mean anything to us as long as the number is misbehaving. The number means to us, of course, when it begins to reform and change its ways to more godly ways. So where are the other religious sects or entities, whatever you call them, who keep throwing out their members if they misbehave to God and misbehave to humanity? Is there one example in your mind? You find none. Scan the whole horizon of religion and your eyes will return to you frustrated. You will not find another example like Jamaat Ahmadiyya, where people are penalized for not being loyal to God, but not being loyal to your set of ideologies is always punished everywhere. Right? So what more shining proof would you require in favor of Ahmadiyya honesty and deep, genuine effort to reform the society? Did you ask this question?
No.
You did. I'm sorry. It's your time now. So we have to go around again once again.
Tarek Hedges, Hartlepool. With the advent of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in cattle in Britain, what advice would you offer on consumption of
in the
beef?
cattle? The mad disease?
Yes.
Mad disease. You see, if you send me the symptoms you can find it from the symptoms from any book, in any medical book which treats with the causes and the general description and the symptoms during disease of these cows. I'm sure I'll be able to find something in homeopathy which would help. And once we discover that something, that will be very useful for the whole country, because in human beings the problem is that people differ from other people individually so much that even if you find one cure for one particular person, it may not work in case of another patient, although he may appear to be similar. Because individuality in man requires special attention to each patient. One drug which works in the case of one person in the same disease may not work in the case of another person with the same disease. This is what I'm saying. But in animals, it's different. They're almost like each other, each resembling each other, so much so that their diseases are cured by the same medicines very often. Seldom you find exceptions. So I think it's a very good idea that you have suggested. Why shouldn't we go for discovering some medicine which will help the entire British economy and the farmers particularly? Because I know this is a very, very threatening disease and very awful disease.
Secondly, what would you advise on the consumption of beef while this is going on?
This is for the medical experts who know this subject, This is a matter of animal husbandry, and the experts should decide whether, not only a matter of animal husbandry and the doctors who specialize in foods, diet, etc. There are some specialists who are diet specialists. They have all the means at their disposal to test the meat in various forms, cooked, half-cooked, uncooked, and so on and so forth. And they can give the verdict whether the consumption of this meat is dangerous in the sense that it can transfer the same disease on to the person who consumed the meat. Now, if they declare it to be okay, then if the cows are slaughtered, then of course there is no harm. But at the same time, I personally feel I can't bring myself up to eating that meat. So it will be unfair not to label it. It will be immoral not to label it, even if you think the meat is safe for human consumption. A cow which has the history of that disease, which is so ugly and so threatening, and it's a disease where it is possible for a man like a man bitten by a rabid dog to behave like a mad cow. Now, how would you like that? Now, even if, according to the specialist, it is not transferred in certain cases and with due precautions, every man has a right to go by his own belief and his own views. So, in the society, there will be thousands of people who would not care for medical opinion, who say, we can't touch this meat. So it is the responsibility of the society to see to it that each package of this meat is labeled in red, that this is a meat from a cow which was slaughtered after suffering from mad cow disease. And now up to you to buy it or not to buy it.
I don't think anybody would.
See, that's what I mean. I doubt if anyone will be able to, even if there is a large certificate attached, signed by the specialist, it won't make you mad. But they may say it has made you mad. You are issuing this certificate and you are playing havoc with the peace of our minds. Right?
Thank you.
Next.
We've got a second question
Yes,
relating to the institution of Khilafat.
Yes.
And whereas Ahmadis are blessed with this institution, we see the blessings every day. But in the UK, we see other non-Muslims starting the printing leaflets about the Khilafat movement. Now, do you think other Muslims will ever be united on the question of leadership?
It all depends on their understanding of Khilafat, what Khilafat is. If they are talking of that Khilafat, which follows a prophet of God, then having denied the possibility of a prophet ever being sent by Allah, how can they believe in reinstituting Khilafat among themselves? Because Khilafat literally means resurgence or deputizing somebody. Deputizing whom? A prophet. So if there is no prophet at a certain cross-section of history and the Khilafat has come to an end before that, then how can you reconstitute Khilafat in the absence of prophethood? It's impossible. If you choose a Khalifa, how can you convince all the Muslims belonging to different sects that this is the rightful Khalifa, follow him? What guarantee there would be that he is constituted or made a Khalifa by Allah himself? No guarantee. So it's impossible for such movements to succeed. They have happened before in history with a greater zeal and enthusiasm, like at the time of the Khilafat of Turkish Ottoman Empire's Khilafat, when it was tottering and coming to an end. A worldwide awakening was made among the people of Islam, particularly in India, whereby they were ready to offer every sacrifice to somehow resuscitate the Khilafat in Turkey and to transfuse their own blood into that Khilafat. Hazrat Muslim Maud at that time told them, it's impossible, you can't do it. Khilafat comes from Allah. It's not a man-made thing. And if it is a man-made thing, the blessings attached to Khilafat will not be enjoyed by you, because there will be no such thing as blessings. But nobody listened, nobody heard. In fact, people, the non-Ahmadis, started taking their revenge against Hazrat Muslim Maud's words of wisdom from Ahmadis. Many Ahmadis were robbed, looted, their houses were burnt, some were mortally injured, because Hazrat Muslim Maud at that time warned the Muslims of India, don't waste your energy and time, you will achieve nothing. And only you will be offering sacrifices in vain. Why? They wouldn't listen. So ultimately they sent a delegation to Turkey, to Kemal Ataturk. Was it Kemal Ataturk at that time? Yes, it was. It was quite right. Or Anwar Pasha, Kemal it was. And said, we offer the entire Indian Muslims, we offer ourselves as a body to work under you as a Khalifa of Islam. And accept this offer, we do it in all sincerity. We are ready for every sacrifice. He said, I kick this Khilafat out with the toe of my foot. What is this Khilafat? I believe in Turkish nation. And I can't understand how this Khilafat can be made outside Turkey anyway. It has nothing to do with Turkey. Choose your own Khalifa if you like. But just get out. And the way they return to their country, like they say, hell out of bat out of hell. But it was the other way around. It was bat into the hell. they themselves had created unrest and chaos in the whole country, and they were so much ashamed at that frustration. That was the time when the Arab world was also excited about it, although not as much as Indian world, because the Arabs already had enough of Turkey, so they didn't want to re-establish the Khilafat, which would in some other form begin to rule Arabia again. But enthusiasm showed in India was momentous, absolutely. But it boiled down without any purpose. So this is what has happened. We have seen before, many stickers all over the walls of streets of London and elsewhere. We read beautiful tapes which said Khilafat, Khilafat, Khilafat. And what happened to that? It fizzled out like just nothing, right?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, my second question, I want to know, because I understand that almost all prophets, they came with their own religion. Okay. And as Ahmadis, who believe that Islam is the last religion
That's right.
chosen by God for mankind. And this religion was revealed to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why is it that God do not make people to easily accept Islam? Instead, they are still observing the old religions. And are these religions accepted by the Almighty Allah?
Tell me, the religions before Islam,
Yeah.
were they right or wrong?
Yes.
Did
Whether
it
they
ever
are
happen?
still accepted.
Did it happen in every case that when truth appeared, everybody accepted it? What happened to the people of Noah? To those of Lot? To those of Abraham and the followers of Azar and so on? The people of Pharaoh. Go back into the history of religion up to the time of Adam, and you will see the same thing repeated all over again. In this way, the history does repeat itself, that Allah does not force the people to change their faith. Always creates opportunities. It's up to the people to accept or not to accept. The Holy Quran is very clear. La ikraha fid deen. There is no coercion, no compulsion in religion. Whoever chooses to follow the guidance or truth, it's up to him. Whoever chooses to reject, it is up to him. Both will bear the consequences, suffer from the consequences, or enjoy the consequences of what they do. So it's a free choice. If there were no free choice, then what sort of world that would be? Why to create Adam at all? Angels did not have a free choice, and they obeyed God in everything. So why to create mankind at all? Because that would be all, in claiming to have a new species added to a new type of life added to the previous list, God would be repeating the creation of angels on earth. It will lose all its purpose, all its charm, all its romance, Man is a very attractive animal, isn't it? Despite his follies and shortcomings, still it's a very, very brilliant thing. And it's progressing all the time. At the same time, many times it returns to guidance and truth with wonderful consequences and results. And many times it goes astray to its own detriment in the end. So let this game go on. Right? Freely. I like freedom of choice. Don't you? Please.
Yes, my other question is, after all what is happening today in the world, people fighting in the name of religion,
That's right.
in the name of Hezbollah, Hamas, and so on, if God who we believe is the most powerful, want to create or to send a Messiah to us to redress, to correct these things, has man got any right to criticize what God has done in his own will?
He exercised his choice of freedom without right. To choose is his right. To choose wrongly is not his right, but he is permitted to choose wrongly if he so desires. You understand?
Yeah.
That's all the problem. It's all related to choice. The same question which he asked in different words, you have asked in another way. Please.
The Ahmadiyya movement is spreading so fast. Is there any way or any means of introducing any training programs for the new young converts that are coming?
They are being done everywhere in the everywhere in the world. I received a report only the day before from Sierra Leone, which told me that we are holding Tarbiyati classes, the training classes, in every area where Ahmadiyyat has gained some following. And recently, Sierra Leone, not now but previously, a year before, Sierra Leone fortunately led all the countries of the world in gaining converts to Ahmadiyyat at a much faster pace than previously. And it was Sierra Leone who first reached the number 100,000 in 1 year. So for that I must congratulate you, that you should take pride in being from a country, with this wonderful record in history made in favor of Sierra Leone Ahmadis. But unfortunately, because of the disturbances, their pace slowed down. But still, they are in beyond 50,000 or so. I hope when the peace returns, they will again regain the lost paradise for themselves.
Sure.
But the training program are a part of it. I tell them every year, after announcing the latest number of converts, that particularly now in the beginning of the year, you must concentrate on tarbiyat, that is training, and seeing to it that the values begin to sink deep into them. Faith they have accepted, but values do not always come with the faith. For that you have to make up another effort. You have to struggle for it. And that is a more difficult struggle, to change people's corrupt habits in the name of the new faith they have accepted. So it is there where the real struggle begins. So I told all those countries who, with the grace of Allah, were blessed with large number of conversions, some to the tune of more than 200,000 in 1 year, and that this is the time to take care of what you have gleaned. Because if a farmer gleans a rich crop and leaves it in the open, then practically nothing would be left for him in the end, by the end of the year. He won't even find seeds, healthy seeds, to sow for the next crop. So this is a very important question you raise. We are doing it. We are paying attention. We are praying for it. We are doing whatever is in our power to improve the quality of the people who join Ahmadiyyat. And in the same process, the quality of those who were born in Ahmadiyyat is also improved. You see, when we tell them to improve, to reform others, within themselves awakens a reformer. Yeah. They begin to see their own faults and follies, and they begin to hear voices of shame, shame from within, So that is the best way of reforming those who were Ahmadis for years and had slept over it for a long time, to tell them to awaken others, to reform others. And with that comes the moment of awakening within. So with the grace of Allah, we are doing everything we can possibly. Thank you for pointing out.
Thanks.
Yes, please.
My next question is, people are saying, especially the non-Ahmadis, they are saying that the interpretation or the translation of the Holy Quran is not right.
Do they say that?
Well,
They say that in public. Privately they say other things. You know, yesterday I went to Leicester for a question answer session. A large number of Englishmen and ladies and Asians and Africans were present there. We had a very good session, long, lasting about an hour and a half or more.
More than that.
More than that. About 2 hours.
Yes.
That's right. And a gentleman who was such a fine person, such a generous person, stood up at the end to thank Ahmadis for all that they had done. Later on, I inquired about him, how he was introduced to Ahmadiyyat and why he was so impressed by the quality of Ahmadiyyat and so on and so forth. So the president then told me the story. This is what I'm going to share with you. He said that he had no knowledge, no idea of what Ahmadiyyat was. He just became interested in religions as such. So one day he thought, why not read the Quran, the very fundamental book, and find out about Islam myself by the study of the Quran. He went to the Leicester Muslim Center, which is dedicated to the hostility of Ahmadiyyat, against, absolutely. Sometimes some members under the influence always behave like rabid people. And he went to them and said, look here, I have a new man, I am an English man, and I want to study the Quran. So could you kindly sell me a copy of the English translation of the Quran? They said, yes, of course, we will do that. And they were talking, and one mullah from among them took him away quietly, put his hand over his arm and said, please, I have to say something to you. He said, let them say whatever they please. But if you want really to know the Quran, then go for Ahmadi translation. You will get nothing from others. This is my private advice to you. And if you ask my advice, I would advise you to go for Zafrullah Khan's translation. It's an excellent rendering of the Quran. And Zafrullah Khan's translation is entirely based on the translations of the Jamaat as such, of Khalifatul Masih Sani's translations and Maulvi Sherli Sahib's translation and so on. And also, he was helped by a board of Ahmadi scholars and others at his request, which was granted by Khalifatul Masih, the third caliph. And I happened to be a member of that board too. You see, we went through sentence by sentence each translation, and we offered our advices. Of course, it was his translation. He decided in the end whether to accept some advice or not. Most often he did. So it was that translation to which that mullah referred. He said, if you really want a good, correct, reliable translation, go for Ahmadi translation, and for Zafrullah Khan's translation in particular. Apart from that, I can quote another example of a moot of world Muslim scholars to to find out in what orders the English translations should be arranged from top to bottom. So whatever English translations were available to them at that time, they examined them very scholarly and compared them with the Arabic text, and ultimately they came out with their verdict. The unanimous verdict was that by far the best translation was that of Maulvi Sherli. Maulvi Sherli's translation is a miracle indeed. He was appointed by the Jamaat Ahmadiyya. He spent many precious years of his attention with prayers to come out with this translation, which is still the best in the whole world. So this is the unbiased verdict of non-Ahmadi scholars. You should be aware of these things. You should find out references from Imam with the help of Imam Sahib and tell the others, look here, what's this? if we change the translation to our own liking, what happens to your scholars when they sit as on the seat of judgment? They declare Ahmadi translations to be the very best. See? Was it your question?
Yeah.
Okay. The round is about to be complete and the time is also about to be over. Huh?
Yeah.
Or is it over? A minute or two maybe? Upar ho gaya. We have taken 1 minute more than the allotted time. Huh? So next time, okay? Okay, thank you. All right, we take leave of you now. Allah bless you all for coming. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.